Welcome to the first installment of Mojo Mundi. I'm Ginny Watts, the Dancing Witch, and I am very excited to connect with all of you manifestors, spiritual seekers, and mystics. My goal is to support all of you in doing the important and powerful work of manifesting a better world. I thought we could begin by looking at an FAQ in the magic and manifesting community. Why aren't my visualizations working? It can be so frustrating and discouraging when we follow all the steps, practice and practice and practice, and we don't see the results matching our vision, or we don't see any apparent results at all. From my experience and my observation of others, the obstruction to success has, without exception, been related to what the Abraham, channeled by Esther Hicks, refer to as the art of allowing. Allowing is the powerhouse of manifesting, of prayer, of magic that most of us don't use. In fact, many of us avoid the topic of allowing altogether. According to the book Law of Attraction, The Basics of the Teachings of Abraham, the Abraham, through Esther Hicks, explained that the art of allowing is the source of diversity in the universe, which is the basis to continuing creation. That is huge. Let me say that again. The art of allowing is the source of diversity in the universe, which is the basis to continuing creation. They go on to say that allowing is indispensable for the continuation of all species, of the planets, of the universe, because allowing opens the gate to the flow of creating. Again, allowing opens the gate to the flow of creating. So why are we not tuned into allowing? Why do we not even talk about allowing? Allowing is clearly a very powerful ability. It is also a very complicated ability. Allowing can be practiced or expressed in an infinite number of ways. It has the power to transform our values, our social consciousness and connections, our experience of our past, our understanding of our present, and the unfolding of our future. I would love to say, simply put, the art of allowing is ... but I have yet to find a simple way of expressing what the art of allowing is. In the Law of Attraction, the Abraham describe allowing as knowing who we are in this moment and being satisfied and happy with who we are, while simultaneously knowing that others are who they are, and that the differences of others, even the extreme differences, are also good. They explain that allowing is antithetical to conformity because conformity is antithetical to diversity, which we have already heard is the spark of creation. Allowing goes beyond tolerance, beyond acceptance. It is a basic teaching of Buddhism, Christianity, of neo-pagan principles. In other words, it's a really big idea. That makes it difficult to discuss, to explain, and most importantly, to understand so that one can practice allowing. Allowing is also very challenging to embody. For one thing, it runs counter to how our brains have evolved over the centuries. So let's start with this challenge. Why do our brains resist the art of allowing? Allowing means being delighted with others and with circumstances, even when, and most importantly, when they are so very different from ourselves or from what we want. Our ancestors' brains evolved in an environment that was full of danger. As a result, the brain developed with a focus on danger in order to help our ancestors avoid getting eaten, poisoned, trampled, lost, frozen, baked, or any other of the million ways to die in prehistory. The human brain is a mammal brain, and it has much more in common with the brains of other mammals, and birds and fish, than we humans might want to admit. To make sure we stayed alive as we roamed the savannas with saber-toothed tigers, poison berries, volcanoes, and so on, our brains got very good at recognizing bad things in the environment and spending less time noticing good things. We didn't have to worry about the good things. A cursory acknowledgement of the berries that are yummy and safe was all we needed because there was nothing there to harm us. But those red berries that killed several of our clan members, those needed to be studied and recognized in all their details, not to mention where the berries were, what the weather was doing when our friends ate them, what smells were in the air, and the like. We needed to focus on what was different about dangerous things. Research has found that we recall negative memories in more vivid detail than positive memories, and that we tend to exaggerate negative experiences and minimize positive experiences. You know how when your cat was a kitten and there was a terrible thunderstorm and she got shut out of the house while you were gone and you found her cowering under the porch when you got home? And then the next time there was a thunderstorm, she jumped up inside the pool table in the game room and didn't come out until the storm had passed, and then some? And then you noticed that the rumbling of delivery trucks would also send her scurrying for the pool table? Okay, well, actually, that was my cat. But either way, when it comes to bad experiences, our brains often don't function much differently from my cat's brain. We know and remember what is different about the bad experiences. As a result, different becomes equated with bad. My friend April shared her experience of danger brain, describing it this way. And how does it feel in your body? Worried and frustrated and...
Oh man, like you're tense and your shoulders hurt and like I hold myself really tight and your chest feels tight and you just feel upset all the time.
All the time. In addition to avoiding danger, our brains have also evolved to maximize the efficient use of mental resources. We are bombarded by millions of bits of information every moment of every day. In order to organize and use all that information, mammal, bird, and fish brains have developed pattern recognition. One result of that is that we are actually attending to only a portion of our environment. For example, we are able to look at a forest and recognize a few trees, metaphorically speaking, and construct a memory of the forest in its entirety. For most stimuli that we take in, we are not really superior to other animals in regard to how much or in what ways we process all that information. According to Mark Mattson, other primates and quote-unquote lower mammals are able to make mental maps of their environments, just as we do, recognize others of their species, and detect what those others are feeling, as we do, and they are able to communicate with gestures, as we do. According to Mattson, where humans excel is in being able to manipulate the patterns of incoming information with our imagination, generating new patterns and allowing us to decide whether these new patterns could actually exist in reality or not. That last part, the reality testing, is where many of us get hung up with our visualizations. Patterns are ways of organizing unfamiliar information into familiar information. When it comes to navigating the environment, the brain likes familiar, not new and different. If we are wanting to bring something new and better into reality, our brains may simply assess that new experience as unrealistic, as unable to be realized. Here's what April identified in her pattern recognition. And you actually manifested your realtor too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, she was great. I had some friends from the park that were trying to help me out with my house and it just wasn't working, and then they were moving on to a new company and they suggested I work with this lady, and so I called her, and man, she was night and day difference and sold that place quick. And she knew what she wanted to do, lowered the price, cleaned it up, took better photos, blah, blah, like immediately.
And you were working with your friends, and you felt a loyalty to them and wanted to stick with them, but you were really struggling.
Right.
And so you also went through that same thing. I'm really dissatisfied. This is really frustrating. Mm-hmm. You did everything you could to try to get them going. You were suggesting things to them, doing a lot of hard work. And then what happened there?
Well, and that's ridiculous too, right? Like, you're doing a lot of hard work. I think a lot of us don't just say what we need, which is part of the control. So it should have been like, this isn't working. Thanks very much for your help. Sorry that we couldn't make this work, but you want to be loyal, to people that are your friends. And you also are stuck in that, well, I can't say anything. I don't.
Yes.
So it's more than just control. It's also people pleasing, and it's not saying what you need or what you want out of things. And probably could have sold the condo earlier had I just said something right. And gotten a different person, So that's part of it, I think, too, of not only letting go of control, but realizing that, like, you deserve that, and it's okay to ask for what you want, and if you don't get it, then that's okay too. But it's letting go of how you think things should go. All right. Our brains are biased toward the negative, and we utilize patterns to make navigating our intricate and complex world more efficient. Our brains are also fantastic habit-making machines, just like all organisms on the planet, because it's efficient. The brain likes efficiency, which is based on familiarity and habit, not on new and different. I can be driving my kids to school, intervening when they have their usual morning squabbles, while I am also running through what I need for my first meeting of the day. In this example, I am on autopilot for driving and parenting because of having done both a lot, while the majority of my cognitive resources are on my plan for work. My brain has formed very effective habits of responding to roads, other drivers, signals, my children's voices, their words, and so on. What a remarkable and complicated gift. Until it isn't a gift. April provides a perfect description of how habits affect her manifesting.
There's a distinct difference, but you don't always notice it, I don't think, either.
Right. Right. Thank you for saying that, because
Yeah.
I think that that's part of the struggle is we don't recognize that relief or that joy, that pleasant feeling, that happiness.
Well, I think you also get used to that tense,
Yeah.
shrugged shoulders. You just think that that's how life is. Like, oh, this must just be the way it is. Or you don't even think about it at all. It's just,
You're on autopilot.
yeah, it's just that's how it is every day. So, yeah, you don't think about it. So that feeling of relief afterwards, if you pay attention to it, is phenomenal, because it's all of a sudden like otherworldly almost, of this feeling of, oh, I can be happy, I can have joy, I can sell my condo and buy a new one, I can whatever.
Finally, research also indicates that the brain is very resistant to change. Our brains are designed to be very stubborn about letting new ideas really sink in. We might hear or experience the new idea. We might even think about it or give it a test drive. What is much less likely to happen is that we integrate that new idea into our deepest understanding. The basic internal structure of our personality, values, the way we construct our view of reality, and so forth, seldom change with exposure to new ideas. It makes sense, particularly in this day and age where we are overwhelmed with information and ideas from the many devices we are attached to daily. Just think what it would be like if every new news item you scrolled through on your phone, every new podcast you listened to, every new idea you heard from a friend, every new advertisement you saw on TV dropped right into the core of your being, and all your mental, social, and spiritual structures rearranged themselves to accommodate this new information. How destabilizing, how chaotic, how dangerous. While those deep structures are changeable, it takes significant resources and/or some clever tricks to accomplish that change. Much better to go for stable over flexible, even though stability means rigidity, and rigidity is the home of our dreaded limiting beliefs. What does all this have to do with manifesting my heart's desires, with making the magic I am called to make? If you are asking questions about why you aren't having success at manifesting, I'm going to assume that you are familiar with at least the basics of the law of attraction, which means you are aware that your emotions need to be congruent with what you are trying to materialize in order for you to be successful. And here is where many people get stuck. We want to manifest or materialize something because we recognize its absence in our lives. Most students of manifesting and the law of attraction know the method, because most manifesting experts are proponents of a relatively standard approach. Become aware of what you would like to manifest, imagine what you want to manifest in great detail, evoking as much positive emotion as possible, put it out there to the universe. You will be inspired to take action, and your dream will come to you. There are a couple of important caveats that are missing in that outline. First, remember what we just learned about the brain. Our brains are not well designed to make the switch from an awareness of lack to an awareness of abundance. Change is equated with different, and different is equated with bad. Many people are already struggling with believing things are okay, let alone that things could get better. Even if you are a generally positive person, if the lack of something is important enough to prompt you to learn about and practice manifesting, or to pray for change, it means the lack of that something has caused pain or discomfort, or, as the Abrahams say, contrast. And even though pain is bad, change is worse, change is different, and different is dangerous. A big change from real distress to real joy may be really dangerous. If we have consistently found ourselves in unhappy relationships, or without a relationship at all, if we have struggled financially just as our parents did, if we have suffered physical pain, illness, or nagging injuries that have never really resolved, our brains are going to be really good at recognizing all the details of those past bad experiences. Our brains are going to be really good at recognizing the presence of details in new experiences that are like the details of the past bad experiences. And our brains are going to be very adept at plugging the new experience right into the pattern of the old bad experiences. The brain knows how to deal with those bad experiences, and it moves ahead on autopilot into the new experience, often without our even being aware of what we are thinking, feeling, or doing. We go through all the steps of manifesting, diligently following the outline, and maybe even having some flashes of success, but ultimately feeling discouraged and often wrong because our brains are not in the habit of the new something that we want to manifest. The brain doesn't notice or focus on the positive elements of this new something. The whole brain doesn't recognize the pattern of this new something as possible or as material, real. This new something isn't a habit, so it takes up too many resources to maintain, and deep down, the brain doesn't accept that it's even a valid something to want. There isn't much allowing going on, is there? So is it hopeless? And if it is, why are people claiming that they are successful manifestors? Well, it isn't hopeless. We just have to find out how to bring the brain, the whole brain, along to rendezvous with where the heart is. And here is the second caveat. Manifesting is a personal process. The key here is how to bring your brain up to speed. Remember, diversity is what creation is all about. If diversity is vital, then of course we are a diverse bunch. It stands to reason then, because we humans are a diverse bunch, that what works for one of us may not work for another, and it surely won't work for all of us. So we have to find the unique combination of approaches that work for each unique individual. And that's another aspect of the art of allowing. Your unique relationship with Creator is fundamental to the process of co-creation. We have to allow for a diversity of ways to manifest. One way to practice the art of allowing is in conjunction with what the Abraham call our emotional guidance system, to give us clues about where our brains are going off track and how to get back on track. If I tell myself and others that I know manifesting works, that I know I am here to co-create, and that I am eager for this or something better, but I'm not successful at manifesting what I want, it may be because somewhere I have a belief, a habit of thinking, a pattern or value that is in conflict with what I am consciously hoping to manifest. What I want to manifest is too different, and my brain is trying to help by protecting me from that different danger. When that happens, we want to help the brain move toward joyfully allowing the difference. Our emotions will guide us to what belief or habit or pattern or construct is in need of shifting. For example, in my work as a therapist, I had a number of clients who struggled with body image issues. When I asked them to consider changing the way they talk to themselves about their bodies, the immediate response of every single person, without exception, was, "Affirmations?" with a disgusted look on their faces. "They don't work. I've tried. It's a waste of time." I suggested we not label our efforts as affirmations. Just try thinking of a positive statement about your body and try saying it out loud. This suggestion was usually met with frustrated and stymied silence. You don't have to say you love it. It can be anything positive. "Okay," they'd say. "I like my body. It's okay." Then I would ask them to check in with how that felt in their bodies. The sensations in the body are a clue to the emotions we're feeling. That's our emotional guidance system. Often, they reported feeling worse, feeling their stomach knotting even more with anxiety, feeling a headache coming on with sadness, feeling their fist tense in anger. When I asked them what they thought was happening, they were able to recognize they didn't believe that positive statement. It was just too different from their current beliefs. Their emotions were the alarm that pointed out where the problem lay. We would then pare down the statement until we found something they could honestly say that their brains would get on board with. We were going for the biggest step the brain could make and still be on board. I might suggest, "Is there any part of your body you do like?" They would respond that they liked their hair, or how strong their arms were, or the fact that they could hike wherever they wanted. Then, they would practice making a positive statement about that particular part of their bodies. "I do like that I can hike up to Ouzel Falls without my legs or feet giving out." We went until they were able to honestly report a positive sensation in their bodies after they made their positive statement. Over time, we gently stretched their brains to embrace a new feeling of positivity toward their bodies. April gives us some excellent examples of the messages from her guidance system when her brain was in rebellion about purchasing a new home.
I thought, and I had heard from everybody else selling their homes that, "Oh, put it on the market, 3 days, it'll be gone, no problem." So I was like, cool, 3 days and this should be done, and I'll be on my way to find something else. And, "Oh yeah, you'll find something else, it'll be no problem." Well, 3 months later, when every house I went to look at almost sold before I even got in the door, and people had stopped looking at my condo and it wasn't selling, there was no movement on it, and I would finally find something I like. Well, sellers don't want to just sell to you if you don't have the money in hand, so it's contingent on me selling my house. Well, sellers don't like that. So then it's, well, you got to sell your condo first to get the money to buy the new house that you can't get because you haven't sold your condo yet. So it's very frustrating and just kind of disheartening. And I thought it would be a lot easier, naively thinking it would be easy. But
so you and I had talked about manifesting, and you were interested in it, and you were, we had discussions back and forth. And I'm curious, how did that play into selling your home? Or did it?
I think the ultimate secret of manifesting is you have to forget about it, and more power to you if you have figured out how to do that, because that's the hardest part, to just say, I want this, and then not worry about it anymore. You have to do the work, and then eventually it comes once you figure out how to stop worrying about it or thinking about it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So here you are. You're sitting in this place that you don't want to be anymore, and you're feeling discouraged and frustrated and
sad, worried. I've already, packed half my house thinking it's going to be fast, so you don't have your normal environment now. You're, and the showings are horrible because you have to pack up your house every time and make sure it looks nice and make sure it smells nice and turn on all the lights and then leave. And they can be there for half hour or 5 minutes, but you have to leave. And so it's very discombobulating maybe, or you don't have a routine anymore. And
so how did you, because you're not still in your old condo.
Oh, no, no.
So I hear you saying you've got to learn how to let go of it.
Yep.
And how did that work for you?
Well, I talk to you about it a lot because I get so frustrated and upset, and just it gets to the point where you feel like you're going to explode, literally explode on the inside of, I can't do it anymore. Nothing I do seems to work. I can't sell it. I can't find another one. I can't.
Right.
And eventually you're just enough. And I don't know, for me, it's almost like reaching a line in the sand where you finally, your mind and your body's like, you're not going to do it. You can't control it. And when you finally, the moment I was finally okay, whatever. I don't care anymore. If it sells, great. If not, I'll move my stuff back in and I'll keep looking for something else. I don't care. And it almost feels like you give up, but you don't. But you give up control, I guess, of I can't do it. So, and it was funny because as soon as I did that, and I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm over it. I'm going to go home and see my family. It was over Thanksgiving. And I told my realtor, I was like, I'm leaving. Show my house all you want. I'll be gone these days. And 2 days after I got home, she calls and says, well, I sold your condo. And I just shook my head, was like, of course you sold my condo. But it's just that, and then that feeling of now I just need to hear about the other condo that I was waiting on. And it wasn't, I don't know, probably 3 days, and she called me about that one and said, they accepted our offer, you got a new house.
Wow, what a difference. So months of being stuck.
Oh, yeah. It was 6 months before that happened.
And then you just left town, shut the door.
Yep.
Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Went down, and how was your time with your family?
It was fine. It was Thanksgiving, so it was I wasn't thinking about it. I had taken my cats home with me. I had taken most of my valuables, and I was just like, Michelle, my realtor, I just said, Michelle, just whatever. Show it as much as you want. Have as many show. I don't care. I'm not going to be there. Just lock the door. And she was like, gotcha.
So that shows a couple of things to me. You talk about this habit of unrealistic expectations. You talk about the struggles that you have about not, certain situations are not comfortable for you. And those are kind of those habits that our brain has, that our brain forms. And it's also that idea of seeing a pattern in things. Here's my pattern, right? And
you were able to trick your brain in a way, I think, or to find a way of talking to yourself, of setting your brain up to let go. So you talked about that line in the sand. What does that feel like when you hit that or cross that?
Well, like it feels like you give up, but not in a negative way. You know, it's not like you just say, throw the towel in, I'm done. It's more like it's hard to describe. You give up. You stop caring enough about it to worry about it, I guess.
What I heard you say is control.
Oh, well, yeah, that's totally the part of it. For me especially, I hate being out of control, and change is very hard because I'm not in control of that. So the minute that I'm like, okay, just whatever, basically.
Right. So not giving up on the dream.
No.
But you kind of have to hold both, okay, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'll move back in if I need to.
Yeah.
And that's where the control is. So it has to happen now, in a way, is what you're letting go of.
Yeah.
But you haven't let go of the idea. You didn't say to your realtor, take my place off the market.
Oh, no, that's why when I say you have to give up, it's hard to explain it because you're not giving up. You're giving up your control, basically, and your thoughts of it has to be this certain way. It has to be perfect. It's got to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you finally just say, okay, however it's going to go, it's going to be fine. And no matter what happens, I'm okay. Whether I have to move in or whether I have to move home for a while till I can find something else. Whatever, just it'll be fine. And then the trick, though, is then to just not worry about it.
We've taken a dive into how our brains are stretched by this powerful idea of allowing. We've glimpsed why it's called the art of allowing, rather than the law or practice of allowing, and we have looked at how allowing fits into a real-life example of manifesting. Thank you to April for sharing her experiences. The music used in this podcast is used by permission of the artist, Sean Phoenix. Thank you, Sean. And thank you to Bozeman Public Library for the Workbench Sound Studio located in beautiful downtown Bozeman, Montana. If you would like to learn more about allowing and how to find your unique style of manifesting, please visit my website, caravanofdreamsmt.com, or email me at dancingwitchmt@gmail.com. This is Jenny Watts, the Dancing Witch. Till next time, blessed be.